Hello, my fellow seekers. Welcome to Into the Work, therapy for empaths, seekers, and the intuitively driven, where you have front row seats to therapy sessions and expert interviews that will help you define the important work that you're here to do. So I guess you actually have something better than front row seats. You practically have a seat on my couch. That's right, you will have unrestricted access to actual sessions with real people, exploring real life issues. You will continue to be inspired by powerful conversations with experts and healers that might just share exactly what it is that you need to hear to get unstuck. I am Michelle Poverman. I am a recovering people pleaser and former anxiety-driven empath, turned now mostly grounded psychotherapist and intuitive coach. I have been helping people for almost 20 years manage their limiting beliefs and anxiety to finally stop the self-sabotage and step into their gifts. I created this podcast, Into the Work, to give you a place to learn more about yourself and give you actionable strategies to finally move those roadblocks holding you back so you can go for what you want. Above all else, my hope is that this podcast is a catalyst for your awakening. If you're listening, you've already taken a step towards getting off of autopilot, and our next steps together will be taken episode by episode, waking you up to the possibilities, the new ways of thinking and being, so that you can stretch into that next level of your story. The spark has already been lit, and my friend, this is a journey from spark to brilliance. So together, let's light a fire. Hi, and welcome back to Into the Work, therapy for empaths and seekers. I'm your host, Michelle Poverman. And today we're diving deep into a topic that hits home for so many of us sensitive, soul-led women. And that is when your body is truly telling you no, but you have the habit of saying yes. And we're going to open this up to different variations of what this can look like. But if you've ever found yourself smiling and nodding while every cell in your body is shrinking, or saying, sure, I can do that while your gut clenches, you're not alone. Today, we're going to explore why that happens, how it quietly sabotages our peace and power, and what to do to get back into alignment with your intuitive truth. So when our body is saying no, that's referring to your intuition. Intuition comes through you, from you, of you, and therefore the body is part of that experience. So I do want to start here. This isn't just about people pleasing. This truly is about self-trust. It's about what happens when our intuitive knowing and our gut instincts, which is our body's wisdom, gets overridden by years of programming, conditioning, and survival patterns. Because when you ignore your body's quiet no, you not only betray your needs, you start to lose access to a deeper guidance system. And the longer we override that voice, the harder it becomes to recognize it again. Until one day, we don't know what we want at all. We just know we're exhausted, we're resentful, we're anxious, we're numb, we're tired. So today can be a reclamation for you. Listening to this could spark something inside of you that says, wait a minute, this is me. I need to look at this. And just by opening yourself up to this conversation today, you're going to have the opportunity to heal something, to step into a different relationship with your intuition that is more powerful, even though it's quiet and sometimes subtle, it's wise. And you will feel more powerful knowing that you can access yourself wholly in order to know what you want, in order to know how to move forward, in order to stay on track. Because we know that you're here on a mission. You're here. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if there wasn't some spiritual mission that you feel aligned to deep down inside. So let's talk about the split that occurs. So here's what happens beneath the surface. Your intuition lives in your body, let's say, right? And it's quiet. It's this visceral knowing. It's subtle, but it's wise, right? But your programming, that internalized people pleasing, that fear of conflict, fear of, hurting somebody, fear of disappointment, that need to be liked, that need to be loved, that need to not be abandoned by people that we have in relationship to. It lives in your mind and your nervous system. So the intuition is in the body for sure, right? It's also around us, but for this conversation, it's in your body. And your programming is also, it's in your mind and in your nervous system. So when someone asks something of you, you may feel a full-bodied no. Before you can even register it, your mouth, it says yes, right? And that's not a failure. It's just a habit. It's a protective pattern that was brilliant at one point when you started creating it years and years and years and years ago, right? That was what you did to stay safe. And that was brilliant. But the things that are happening now that are keeping you from your intuition, that are overriding your intuition, are really, really important for you to start waking up to. So less obvious ways we override our intuition. I want to get into some of this more nuanced stuff because, people pleasing, it can be obvious. Saying yes when you want to say no is obvious. It's plastered everywhere, right? That's the first thing that comes to mind when we think of that. But I want to talk to you about some of the less obvious ways this might be showing up, because this is where awareness becomes powerful. Now, over-apologizing is definitely something that might come to mind, but I'm just going to put that at the top because a lot of times we get so used to saying sorry for taking up space, for having needs, or for just existing, that you, sister, may have found yourself in a place where you don't even know how to move forward in these areas. You don't know what to do with having needs. You don't know what to do with the space there is to be taken up, right? And so you find yourself in a very uncomfortable position where your intuition is trying to come through, but you are shutting it down because your over-apologizing comes up. And by over-apologizing, really, it's anything where you are trying to excuse yourself in some way, right? Where you're trying to be less than, shine less than somebody else, be less than to make others more comfortable, and apologizing, of course. But also delayed intuition. Let's talk about that. So you say yes, but a day later you feel off, you feel drained, you feel regretful. That doesn't necessarily mean you didn't have intuition at the time when you made that decision, right? It just means that your programming moves faster. And I don't even mean that your programming, intuition is so fast, but it means that your programming moves faster for you, meaning you are so attuned to that programming that as soon as the slightest hint of angst or whatever the trigger is for that programming, it moves like thunder and lightning, right? Like it just comes through and all of a sudden there's a little rumble and all of a sudden, bam, it is like a flash and it comes to you and you want to get out of that situation as quickly as possible and be comfortable again. So your programming takes over pretty quickly. And you don't have the same kind of relationship with your intuition where there's space for you to experience it. And so I bring this up, this delayed intuition piece, because a lot of us are like, I didn't know in the moment. I didn't get any hint of anything in the moment. It was actually like 3 days later. And this actually happens to me sometimes still to this day, where I'm like, yes, that sounds great. I'll do that. That sounds wonderful. I get excited about saying yes sometimes because I'm an overachiever. I am a little perfectionistic. I get excited about opportunities sometimes. And so I just overextend. And then in the moment, it actually I feel this heightened sense of, of goodness, right? It feels like there's a goodness attached to it. But as a day or two passes, all of a sudden, if you know human design at all, I'm a manifesting generator, right? So like that is my energy when I go into things. And so I tend to like leap into stuff, right? Because that's also where I'm getting my energy from, but also sometimes it becomes about where I'm drawing, worth for things or me, my business, things like that. And so I really had to recognize that like 3 days later, I'll start feeling like, oh, that thing's coming up. It doesn't feel so good, right? Maybe I shouldn't have said yes to that. And so my reprogramming for me now is that if my intuition didn't come in till later, if I wasn't able to access it in the moment, that now what I do is I honor it as equally as important as the word that I gave when I said yes, because my intuition is very important. Your intuition is very important. When you have like a gnawing knowing that something is way out of your comfort zone, maybe way overextending you or not healthy for you in some way or isn't going to go well, usually it's probably smart to listen to it, even if you've already said yes. And that's part of the boundaries we start to have with ourselves is learning how to, prioritize your own needs and that intuitive hit, even after, you've said yes to something. And that's part of like that idea that when I'm teaching boundaries, that it's safe for you to change your mind. Sister, it is safe for you to change your mind. It is okay for you to have said yes and say, you know what? I actually realized I can't do that. And the reason being is that you didn't allow the time to get to the honest truth of the matter. You wanted to, in the moment, probably there's a little people pleasing, right? You wanted to give this thing to that person or do this thing. There's part of you that, has an inner motor, maybe if you're anything like me, and you're like, yes, 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 right? But then stuff shifts and changes, and you have to take a look at that and say, I matter now as much as I did the day that I said yes. There's nothing different. I still matter. And this is important information that I didn't have at that point. And now I can give a much better informed decision than I could have given 3 days ago. So sorry about that, right? And people will have tons of opportunities to see how lovely we are, how giving we are, how how invested we are, and how professional we are, and all those good things. And also, you get to be important. You get to matter. So that delayed intuition is something I want you to consider in terms of like, when does that happen to me and how do I handle that? Because a lot of us, when that delayed intuition comes in and we start to really feel it, that's when the people-pleasing tug of war really starts to kick in. And we're like, I can't do that. I have to, right? All that old programming just starts getting worse and worse. And then we feel worse. And again, this is about the relationship you have with yourself. This is not just about, saying yes or no. It's not just about people pleasing. It is about trust. It's about trusting yourself as a sacred soul here in this life and having a mission that's really important. And if nobody's at the wheel protecting it, it's not going to happen, right? It's not going to happen in a way that is healthy and good. So getting sick or drained is another way that I want to just say it's like the less obvious ways where we are saying yes when we want to say no, right? So this is a less obvious indicator of it. But I want to point it out, as I do often on this podcast, that getting sick, having chronic issues, being chronically drained, burnt out, exhausted, tired, your body may be manifesting the no that you did not speak. And it's really important for you to understand, as they say, the body keeps score. Your body is going to create something, right? And you get to decide what that something is. Is it going to be exhaustion and depletion? Is it going to then be illness? Or does it come into the place of creating vibrancy and joy and expansion, right? So It's really important for you to understand that being chronically drained, being chronically unwell in any way is not some flaw of yours, okay? It is seriously a beautiful piece of information. And I know it sucks to experience it, but it's so vital to your growth and who you are to become that you acknowledge it right here and now. And that you recognize, okay, I'm reclaiming my health back. I'm reclaiming my energy back. I'm reclaiming my mission here in this life back. And I am going to begin to hold the boundaries necessary for me to be healthy and well. And emotional shapeshifting is another one. Now, emotional shapeshifting is when we change our tone, is when we kind of get on this yo-yo, right? We almost talk ourselves into things that aren't good for us, usually through more negative channels. Like, I have this horrible feeling about this. And then you're like, no, you have to say yes for this relationship to last. You have to say yes to be loved. You have to go through with this particular thing, even though it feels terrible. We start to try to, shapeshift our emotional status, right, into ignoring the truth, where it's like, good vibes only, and we're not allowed to feel anything else. Now, I am a huge believer. I teach this in my course. I teach this in everything that I do, that we can shift our emotional set point and we can expand to experience joy and, love and happiness and gratitude, just a higher vibrational feeling for much more often every day by changing the quality of our emotions, right? Which is done by changing the quality of our thoughts. So the quality of our thoughts equals the quality of our emotions, which then equals the quality of our behaviors. And so I am a huge component of let's get to the next best feeling. Let's get to the next best thought, right? But that is not the same as completely gaslighting yourself and forcing yourself into something through shutting yourself down and basically dismissing your feelings that are real and true to you. So premature forgiveness is something else. One more little nuanced thing that I wanted to bring up. I see this happening a lot where people try to be forgiving before their body is ready, meaning they're holding a lot. And now I'm a huge component, again, I feel like I'm talking myself out of what I'm saying here, but I do believe forgiveness is so important in order to heal out of any situation that we're in, especially conflict, forgiving ourselves, forgiving others. I believe that you don't need to know how to forgive. You just need to be willing. So whenever you're willing, you're ready. Okay. So you don't need to know how to forgive. You just need to be willing. And once you're willing, you can hand it over. Everything is going to take place. All the forgiveness that needs to happen is going to just start unfolding before your eyes. You're going to feel it in your body. You're going to feel it in your energy field. You're going to feel ready for it. And you're going to feel really good about it because it does feel so much better to be in forgiveness than it is to be in anger or hurt or resentment. And so we get into this mode of practicing forgiveness. But forgiveness really requires willingness, right? But if your body's not ready, then you're not really that willing. Get it? Get where I'm going with this? So this is often people-pleasing disguised as sort of spirituality. Like, I have to be a forgiving person. That's part of my spiritual identity, is being a forgiving person. To be anything other than that is bad, right? To not be a forgiving person means I'm a bad person. And so therefore, in order to uphold this identity, I people please by forgiving people. So I make them feel better and everybody feels better. But then guess what? That shit that you were feeling is so much worse because you just inauthentically forgave somebody. And now you feel and sense that they are scot-free while you're still living in it, right? They're scot-free and you're living in it. And it's such a mind fuck, right? It's like I forgave them. I told them I forgave them, but then I went home and I got really pissed about it. And I want you to recognize that It is a beautiful thing, and it's a gift to forgive, and it's important because, to be honest with you, I know you've heard this, but this is true. Forgiving isn't about the other person. It's releasing the toxins from your energy field in your body. Forgiveness is allowing yourself to heal, right? It's for you. And in doing that, you radiate a different energy, which also helps heal other people. So your goal isn't just to people please and make sure you're making everybody feel better despite feeling badly yourself. Your goal is, how do I get to being willing? What needs to happen for me to start being willing? And so let's take a look at, why we are doing this at all. Why are we bypassing our intuition through programming? So because at some point in our lives, saying yes became a survival strategy. It's pretty black and white. Maybe you were taught that being helpful, agreeable, or selfless was the way to earn love, safety, approval, likely in your family dynamics, likely in your friend groups growing up. We always forget how powerful those friend groups were. If you were lucky, fortunate to have a good group of friends, they were very powerful. And sometimes they weren't always so good, right? Like teenagers aren't always nice. But you may have absorbed beliefs like, I am responsible for how others feel, and I have to act accordingly in order to be okay. Like, it's selfish to say no. This is so universal for so many of us. And it's easier to agree than to disappoint. It's just easier, Michelle, right? That's what people say. Michelle, it's just easier. That's why I do it. It feels like I'm going to have to climb a mountain versus walk this short little path, right? It just feels so big to kind of get into managing someone else's disappointment. But over time, these beliefs form a false identity, right? Like, you created a false identity that you had to keep up. Like, maybe you were the good girl. Maybe you were the peacekeeper. Maybe you were the helper or the healer. I was all of the above. I was all of the above. Everybody would just talk to me all the time in my family about what a good girl, how I was so helpful, right? I definitely identified with being the peacekeeper. There was conflict in my house, and I was always the peacekeeper amongst it. I definitely found myself with this identity. When I was in 8th grade, we got the yearbook back. And when I was moving in my 20s to Colorado, I found that yearbook. And inside that 8th grade yearbook, the superlative for me said that I would be a counselor at a crisis center when I get older, right? And so that was 8th grade, right? So we start to form these identities really early on. And so we start to decide pretty young what we got to do to keep up with this identity. So knowing and kind of identifying what is yours, like, what did you learn? What did you connect with? What did you kind of say about yourself? What did people say about you that you took in as the story of who you are? And your body learned that suppressing its truth kept you connected, or at least safe. And that truth being that you're all sorts of things, right? Like, I am not just a good girl or peacekeeper. Actually, I've learned to have a voice and disrupt a little bit at times. My family members, my kids would definitely say that about me, right? So there are ways in which we are everything. This is my mantra I'm always handing out, is that we are all everything. I am a hot mess. I've got it all together. I am brilliant, and I am a total ditz. I'm everything. We're all everything. And that particular mantra got me through a massive transformation of my life. And that was to fully accept all parts of myself. And so now, as you grow into your empowered self, this pattern is costing you more than it's giving you. Do you hear that? I really want you to just feel that this pattern you have is costing you more than it's giving you. And just ask yourself, what have I sabotaged lately? What did I say I was going to show up for and I didn't? That was for myself, right? For yourself. What for yourself did you say you really wanted to do and you didn't? What felt really important to you on a deeper level, and you just bypassed it and got really busy with everybody else? I want you just to take a moment to just recognize that this false identity, this way in which you are keeping up, this programming, the way that you are not listening to what's truly your inner guidance, your truth, your knowing, your North Star, and really take a look at what's important for you to start changing. So let's talk about healing. How do we start saying no because our body really wants us to? How do we do the things? Let's stretch this a little bit, right? Because listen, I'm talking about people pleasing today, but man, this could be a conversation for so many things, right? I mean, we could talk about intuitive eating. I mean, I can't tell me, myself included, how many times people have come in and said, I tried the intuitive eating thing. I just, the programming bypasses my intuition, right? I literally was dealing with this today where I am like, there's some things that I know cause me inflammation. I know they are not good for me, but I am reaching for the stimulation. I'm reaching for something to make me feel better, to help me keep going, give me some gas in the tank, or whatever my reasoning is, right? These kind of addictive behaviors I talk a lot about in my course is like understanding that we're either reaching for stimulation or we're reaching for deactivation, right? We're either looking for something to activate us or to deactivate us. That's really what it comes down to. And I am usually looking for something to activate me because I'm like probably overstretching, overdoing my work. And so that's my intuitive cue is I'm learning for the intuitive eating piece that like when I'm craving those things, when my brain starts giving me all the food noise and I'm focused on it, then I realize, oh, that's a cue. My body is telling me that it's wanting something that's not good for me because of how I feel. So that's my cue to actually like meditate for 10 minutes and get inward and say, what's going on with you and what do you need right now? And so learning to slow it down and get intuitive. There's so many areas that we could look at how our programming is getting in the way of our becoming of a beautiful, incredible version of ourself that's next. And that's why boundaries are so important, because we really need to understand the relationship we have with ourselves as well as other people. So let's talk about healing. Here are some very gentle, powerful ways for you to begin. So I want you to look at pausing before you agree moving forward, okay? In this context, let me think about getting back to you. Allows you to give your body time to weigh in. I want you to give your body time to weigh in, right? So you don't have to deal with the trap of that delayed intuition where all of a sudden, that gnawing feeling creeps in and you've already said yes and you don't know what to do now to back out. So I want you to really give your time to think about it. If you can't go in and access a knowing in the moment, then you don't have an answer, right? And you shouldn't give one until you have one. So you don't have an answer. Sometimes, there are things we have to do in life. But when it comes to utilizing your intuition to make the right decisions, you don't have an answer yet. So you can't give one. And then I want you to go ahead and consider using your body as a compass. And I want you to ask yourself, okay, does this feel energizing? Does this feel neutral? Or does it feel draining? That might help you kind of tap into your intuition to get the answer. This feels really good. This feels kind of, I'm feeling butterflies, but they're good. Or is it like, I feel nothing. Okay, well, maybe I need to consider, will this stay neutral or will it go awry when I, get down into it? You're really just giving yourself time to tap in with these questions. Do I feel tight or open, heavy or light, right? Are you constricted or expansive, tight or open, heavy or light? And you just want to know how this feels. That's one way you can receive that intuitive information. And notice what happens after you do say yes. Do you feel tension, anxiety, or dread when that person has left your presence? Because many times for many of us, when we're in the presence of other people, we're picking up a lot of their energy. We're feeling it as our own. We're feeling their emotions, our emotions. It's all very enmeshed for some of us. And also, your people pleaser skyrockets when you're, engaged with another person. And so therefore, in the moment, some of us just feel an incredible urgency to just give an answer because we need it to be over, right? I got to get out of this situation. I know the only path forward feels like, basically self-abandonment, right? So I want you to notice when they walk away, how do you feel? And I want you to start listening. I want you to practice micro-honesty. I like this word, right? Kind of just came up with it. Micro-honesty, like microdosing honesty, okay? You start small. Actually, I just don't know that I feel up for it. Can I get back to you? Little bits of where you practice small bits of honesty. Now, a lot of us can really be passive communicators. So I'm not saying that you're going to start trying to be very indirectly honest, like, oh, I'm not really sure. Let me think. And then people are like, oh, it means so much. And you're like, okay, it's kind of a lot for me, but I'll do it anyway. I'm not asking you to be passive in any way in this conversation, but I do want you to practice little micro honesty drops. Like, when can you just drop a little honesty bomb, right? A small little bomb where you're just like, no, I actually don't love that. You know what? I actually don't like that restaurant that we've gone to every Sunday night for the last year, right? Like, here are some things I do feel. I want you just to practice those little micro honesty pieces, because the more you honor it, the safer it becomes for you to speak it. And sometimes it's just a little muscle that needs lots of attention. So visual rehearsal is the last thing I'm going to say to you. Sometimes when you're like, I really want to get good at this, I really want to say no to this person, I know this question is coming, or I know this thing is going to be asked of me, I want you to take a moment. I want you to sit down, and I want you to breathe into your body, and I want you to drop in, completely be embodied. And I want you to feel how heavy your body feels. That's how it should feel when you start to truly take deep breaths and get into your body. And then I want you just to ask what comes up. Guilt, fear. What is it? What is the emotion? While you're learning the emotion that is existing, that is driving the bus inside you, I want you to also simultaneously recognize that's not a reason to say yes. It's old programming that's causing that emotion, not truth. And so we want to witness it without obeying it, and learning to do that, just really learning to sit back and witness how you feel with lots of compassion, bring in understanding, learn from that emotion, right? Why is it trying to protect you? Where does it come from a long, long time ago? And also not obeying it. Right? It's not your truth. It's typically an old story that is getting triggered. So let's do a quick mini check-in before we end this episode. I'm going to do a little exercise with you where you just bring to mind a recent situation where you said yes, but something felt off. Okay. And I want you just to take a moment. Now, if you're driving, I want you to be very cautious here. You're not going to close your eyes. You're not going to drift away, right? You're going to be staying very present. But if you're not driving or operating heavy machinery, I want you to go ahead and just take this moment real quick, whatever you're doing, and just drop into this question. Like, when was the last time you said yes to something and it felt off? It didn't feel right? And where do you feel that memory in your body? And I just want you to ask yourself, where does it exist when you think of that situation? Was there an emotion or a feeling that rises up in your body? What did that feel like? And was there a tightening, a sinking, a fluttering in your gut? What was that like? And now you can ask that part of you, what did you need in that moment? Right? Like, when you said yes, what did your emotional self, your physical self, your energy body, what does it need? Did it need space? Did it need to be heard? Did it need rest? Did it need to be believed? Right? And I mean from you, not the other person. Like, you're the most important person. So you start with you And then you look for other people to believe you, to hear you, to create space for you. First, we have to start with you. So did your body, did this emotion, did this intuition coming through want you to take space, to get rest, to be heard, to be believed, whatever the thing is for you? I want you just to sink into that and ask yourself that. This is how we reweave trust, one honest moment at a time, and one honest moment at a time. And reweaving trust in with yourself starts by taking moments of creating the space, right? Listening, mattering, holding respect and compassion, right? Believing yourself without dismissing yourself. That is really, really important work. All right. So just closing thoughts here. I just want you to remember you are a beautiful soul and you are intuitive. It's just part of the process of healing. And your body is always speaking, and it's safe to listen now. You don't have to perform your worth. You don't have to abandon your truth to keep the peace. Your no is sacred, your energy is sacred, and your soul knows. It's always watching, right? Your inner self is sort of observing this whole life of yours here, right? And how you're showing up every day. And it's safe for you to see yourself and hold yourself and your feelings and thoughts as sacred. So if this resonated, share it with a fellow empath who might be stuck in their yes trap. And if you are ready to reconnect with your boundaries, your mission, your truth, check out my course, The Modern Empath's Boundary Mastery. It is full of all the things I talk about on the podcast. It's full of all these aspects of you reconnecting with yourself on a much deeper level in order to heal, hold the boundaries to protect the life that you really, truly want. And you'll learn how to stop abandoning yourself and start honoring your inner healer. And that, I will put a link to it in the show notes. That is beginning to open up, and I am creating a little summer sale in terms of it's pre-launching. In the fall, I'm going to be launching the program, but this summer, I am opening up the doors for a lesser price as an early admission, and you will get the course while you wait until the live group meetings start in September. So go check it out if you're interested. I would love to learn more about you and hear from you. And if you have any questions, let me know. Shoot me a message. Thank you for being here. Your healing matters to me. Until next time, I want you to trust yourself. Remember that you already know. Okay? Have a beautiful day. I'll talk to you soon. Bye for now. Thank you for listening to Into the Work Therapy for Empaths and Seekers. Don't forget to grab your free gift, your Shadow Work Transformation Bundle at michellepoverman.com. I've included everything you need to get started to break through the patterns of self-sabotage and finally start to heal the parts of yourself that are getting in the way of truly reaching your potential. From a powerful meditation designed to help you meet and embrace your shadow self, to the guide that's full of curated prompts and important questions to support you on this journey. This really can be the work for you to unmask the root cause of all the issues you've been experiencing, honestly, and start to feel free to believe in yourself and go for what you want. The link for this free bundle is in the show notes. And if you like this episode, I would be so grateful if you could take a moment and rate, click and follow, and leave a review. Of course, you can always follow me on socials at Michelle Poverman. And keep in mind, as you embark on your journey from spark to brilliance, remember, the universe is always conspiring in favor of your awakening. Everything that's happening is in support of you lighting your own fire within. So until we meet again, may your path be well lit and your heart be guided. Shine bright, seekers. Until next time.